there's something very unique about our paper in that it's a smaller paper, it's a community paper, it's an ethnic paper, and we don't have as many resources as a lot of papers, so we're limited to what we can do. I can kind of think of a couple ways to break down how we can work with the community and since we're a Pan-Asian English language paper, we work with several different ethnic Asian groups, and this means all these groups have their annual events. They have different things going on that are planned way ahead of time every year, and we get accustomed to covering all these things all the time. And from year to year, it's different depending on who's organizing it, who's involved in how we can do preview articles. If you're going to have the Big Ten event or the big Mid-Autumn Festival or something, getting in contact with people ahead of time so we can let people know about it and help you generate interest in the event of the wider public. And that's the key. That you want if it's an event where you want the general public to be there, then we definitely want to work with you to make sure we know everything that's going on. Most organizations have co-chairs that are involved with many different details, the entertainment and the food and the vendors or whatever, and then they'll put us in touch with different ones. They'll have one communications person that's in charge of working with us. So that ahead of time is what we want to get most of the information, at least a few weeks, so we can get get it in the calendars and get something out there so people know what's going on and that they want to attend. And then the event itself, I think the biggest hurdles we've had is when you have a bunch of dancers and we want to get the names of the dancers and the title of the dance or the speaker is, if it's in another language, we want to kind of know what the speech was about. And the last thing I want to do is be chasing people down to the event, not because I don't want to, but usually that's a distraction from the event and people are involved with what they want to do. So the more I know ahead of time, or else who I can follow up with afterward. So that way, otherwise, if we're lost and it ends up being just a photo or something, and we don't want to do that. The other types of news is if say it's an ethnic specific thing where we might get invited, but it's really kind of close and it still might be newsworthy, but it's a lot more difficult to know what's going on. So we want to know details if it's a faith thing, what the details of it's Buddhist or John or Hindu or whatever it is about, so that we kind of get enough background so that we make sense and try to relay it on the paper. And if you're sending us news on, say you cover, I've been gifted with people lately that have been writing their own stories from their activities, and they send it in. And then the concern is if you send a photo and you have a lot of people in there, who are these people? What's going on in the photo? And then I don't mind working with the text and everything to turn into a story if it's not there yet, but having follow up. But those are always great to have too, because when we're limited. The other thing is the sudden news. If something happens, it's a social justice thing, or you have a demonstration or a political anniversary or something. Those types of things are certainly newsworthy, and that's a big part of minority paper, is to get into these cutting edge areas where there's a gray area about where the controversy is. And as long as we have a handle on both sides of it, then we can explain it without really sounding like a loudspeaker for either side. And that comes to, again, with working together so that we understand what's going on. And a lot of times we'll get the last minute on the column notes, and those are okay to cover, but again, if you want to have people there to have it in the calendar, then I kind of made a little helpful hint thing about putting together press releases to send us. I think that AAJA has a booklet out that is probably more complete, but this is just kind of the little things I've noticed over the years that are helpful to know. I'm sure there's a lot of other things, but I'm getting long-winded here. So,
okay, I'm sure we'll have plenty of time to get to that too. And, we have a new member joining us today, or that just joined us. This is Susanna Song, who is a reporter at KSTP Channel 5 and also an AAJA member. Thanks for joining us, Susanna. And we were just talking about how news organizations decide what to cover, emphasis on everything from local to national. So if you want to contribute to any of that discussion, and maybe if broadcast journalism is a little different from what you would look for as far as newsworthy elements, in a print story or print coverage?
Yeah, so we have several, probably 5 general assignment reporters that cover evening news, and we have a couple that do the morning show, and then a few at night. So we have probably a dozen journalists who can go out and cover stories that matter to the community. And I can't speak for all the TV stations in Minneapolis, St. Paul, but I know something that Channel 5 has really pushed hard for is stories that matter to the community. And I don't know how many of you watch Channel 5, but when I first started, I didn't really see that brand showing so much. We covered a lot of flashing lights, you know, ambulance chasing, and murders and crimes, which every TV station we cover, but we tend to give it some time, but now we're trying to brand ourselves more so as a station that cares about stories that matter to a wider community, wider population. So, for example, one story that sticks out to me is something that an Asian organization, the Hmong group, called me on a couple weeks ago about the light rail, how it's going to affect businesses there. And I thought they did it perfectly because they called me saying we have a couple business owners who have, you know, a great story to tell you about their grandparents starting this business. They'll let you inside, they'll let you talk with their customers, you know, let you get video of anything inside the business, and then we can also give you an interview on why we think the light rail is going to hurt our business and why we don't think this business will be here after 5 years of construction on University. And so if you can lay out to, whether it's you're calling a reporter or you're calling the assignment desk, and say, hey, we've got 1, 2, 3 people that you can talk to who have a story to share that will matter to the community, you'll get the attention of our managers right away. You'll get the attention of the reporter right away. We do day turns, so I'll pitch a story idea in the morning, and they'll want the story on our air at 5 o'clock or 4:30. And so you have to be available. You tell us, you know, what day you want this story to be covered, and make sure that the person is ready to talk on camera and show plenty of visuals. Unlike newspaper, where the journalist, the reporter has to be, you know, creative and write creatively, describing things, we actually need to see great video right off the top of our story. So if it's just a dark building or if it's just white walls, it's hard to really convey an emotion or draw the attention of our viewers. And so the question I get from my managers right away is, well, what's the appeal to the community, and do we have good video? Do we have good characters? Do we have good interviewers who can express a feeling and convey it well? So you probably noticed with reporter stories, our stories tend to last about a minute. So we don't have these long stories that you can read over and over on your computer or holding a newspaper. So in that 1 minute, we want to be able to convey an emotion right away, an emotion that will stay with the viewer. So we don't need a lot of facts. I mean, the facts we tend to save for our web stories. But for the 1 minute story, who, what, when, where, why does it matter, and what kind of emotion or lasting impression will that leave to our viewers? So they tend to be really selective. Press conferences, they'll give 15 seconds